What's going on, Lakers fans, and welcome into episode 49 of the LakeShow Flow. I am your host, Gio. As I return to the podcast on the night that the Lakers season unfortunately has ended, they lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves 103-96, losing the series 4-1. So the whole time that everyone was saying Lakers in 5, it ends up being Wolves in 5. So very interesting. Congratulations to the Timberwolves. Before I get into the game, before I get into my thoughts going forward on, the Lakers offseason and things like that, I just want to say if you're new here or you've been here, please support the channel, leave a like on the video, leave a comment, subscribe if you're new, and share it with your friends. But as I said, a very disappointing end to this Lakers season. Going into the playoffs, I had such high hopes, high expectations, and I didn't expect to have those high expectations, right? Because when you acquire a player of Luka's magnitude and you lose a player of AD's magnitude and importance to the team, we were left with Jackson Hayes as our, projected starter. And he was, the starter for most of the rest of the season and most of the playoffs that we did play. So it was hard to imagine that the Lakers were going to make some crazy move like that, and it wasn't going to be solely future-based, Like, you're thinking, okay, well, this year we're kind of playing with house money if we do good, but we don't got a center. We don't have a true center, or at least a defensive or athletic. I mean, no, I won't say athletic because Jackson Hayes is an athletic center, but his deficiencies on defense, they really showed. And like I said, so we all got hyped up because Jackson was playing good. He was a lob threat for Luka and LeBron and AR. I just think it was a lack of cohesiveness, a lack of chemistry on the court, and I'll get into how long this unit even played together. But before we get there, I just want to talk about the series itself, because going into the series, a lot of Laker fans were expecting an easy series. And it's only because the Lakers had Luka, LeBron with all this playoff experience. Luka's been to the finals, right? You would think that having two, superstars compared to the T-Wolves having one, that it would kind of just be overwhelming for the Timberwolves. But there was a lot of factors. Anthony Edwards didn't do this alone. Anthony Edwards had he looked like prime Jordan and prime Kobe against this Laker team for many reasons. He's improved as a shooter. He's one of the best step-back ISO three-point shooters in the league right now, which is pretty crazy. We didn't expect that coming into the season, but he's really stepped up his game and made himself, which is something he needed to do, because Anthony Edwards as a player, we all know that he has the athleticism. We all know that he can dunk on anybody in the league. He had a few posters in this series, but he took a leap on his three-point game, which made it hard for the Lakers to really zone in on what he could do. Like when you're playing Steph Curry, you're not really stressing about Steph Curry getting past you. You're not really stressing about Steph Curry playing some ISO, crossover, and he gets past you, gets to the rim. I mean, it happens, but you're not as worried about it. And you can kind of zone in and really prevent him from shooting. With Anthony Edwards, you play too much up on him, you play too far up on him, he's going to go past you. You got to give him a little space just because, you respect his ability to drive. You respect his quick first step. So that created huge problems for the Lakers because we don't have someone that can go down low the way we had with AD to actually go and contest him fully. And another thing is the Minnesota Timberwolves just happen to be one of the few teams that plays a traditional center that's in the playoffs right now. Most other teams, the Warriors play small ball. The Rockets, they play small ball pretty much. I mean, Sengun is not a traditional big. They don't really play one. They have Steven Adams off the bench, but he's not the starter. The Warriors, I think I already mentioned, they play small ball. The Jokic Nuggets, I mean, I guess you could say, they do play a big man, but he's not a traditional big man either, right? So the only team that I could really think of in the West, well, actually, there's two of them. The Grizzlies, they do play Zach Edey, but he could sometimes get played off the court. Same thing with Gobert most of this series, but we'll get to that. But then I guess the Thunder, I mean, they got Hartenstein. They got that double big lineup that they do deploy out there with, Chet Holmgren, who's not a traditional center, and then also Isaiah Hartenstein. So there's not many teams left that actually play a traditional center. The Lakers drew them, which is the Timberwolves, and they also drew a team that has some of the biggest wings in the league, or the most defensive wings, in the league. Because after the Timberwolves traded Karl Anthony Towns, they ended up getting Julius Randle, who I think plays more. He's kind of like a really oversized wing, especially on his perimeter defense this series was just insane. But they got Jaden McDaniels, they got Naz Reid, who's not a traditional big, but he can also kind of defend on the outside. So they were just a big team. They just had some of the best defensive, or not defensive, but just physical players. It was almost like the Lakers were playing against a team that's playing like football players. Like they were very physical, sometimes dirty. I'm not gonna lie, there were some dirty things happening that sometimes didn't even get called, that put our players at risk. We had, even in this game, Luka hurt his back, with Dante DiVincenzo, the way he fouled him from behind. And then you had LeBron, who got hurt from another play that Dante DiVincenzo made. He was a little pest out there. But at the end of the day, that's not really why the Lakers lost the series. The Lakers lost the series because of our lack of rim protection. Because Gobert looked like prime Shaq, prime Wilt Chamberlain, prime Kareem. Like he went crazy. He had a 20-20 game, right? And we're past the point of even looking at specifics when it comes to stats. So he had a 20-20 game, okay? Just looking at the stats if you want, but that was what his performance was tonight. It was his first actual big performance of the series. The Lakers, for the most part, the way we played with our small ball lineup, and I don't know, Gobert was just not finishing against the Lakers. He had a lot of easy shots that just weren't going in, so he got played off the court most of the time. But of course, in typical fashion, when the Lakers have a mindset of like, we're not going to play Jackson anymore, because Jackson Hayes, as many people were clamoring for him to come in, he had more fouls than points in this series, okay? So I understand JJ's mindset. I understand why they kind of gave up on him, okay? And when you fall out of the good graces of the coaches and you're in the doghouse, it's kind of hard to recover. We saw what happened with Cam Reddish earlier in the season. JJ's pretty, like, once your leash is done, you got no more, once it's ran out of room for you to run, you're done. Just sit on the bench, And JJ did pretty much say before the game, he did say that I'm not playing, Jackson won't play tonight, right? So they did some other experimental stuff. They threw in the return of Maxi Kleber. Like, my mind's all over the place with everything that happened today. So there was just a lot to take in. But like I said, when it comes to the Wolves, it was probably, in hindsight, the worst matchup that the Lakers could have had. Shout out to Dan, the Lakers fan. He predicted that this was going to be the Lakers. It was the team that he wanted to avoid. And he ends up being right. The Minnesota was just, you think about the group that they have. Yeah, they made the huge trade for Karl. Trading away Karl for Julius, but they got a lot of cohesiveness. They got a lot of continuity with this group, and they also had the entire season to work together, because they had some shaky, some hiccups in the beginning of the year, and they closed the gap on that, and now they look like a cohesive unit. So they're looking good. The only thing that bothers me is their role players went berserk against the Lakers. Their bench scoring was crazy. And trust me, I know they had more depth. But I said going into the playoffs, we're going to need big games from Gabe Vincent, big games from Dorian Finney-Smith. Both of them, I won't say too much negative about Dorian. Dorian is one of those players where you're not relying on him for offense, but he sets the tone in other ways. He's that plus-minus god out there. Like, he's literally getting all these things done that don't show up on the box score, right? And so he did as much as he could. I'm not as disappointed in him. There was a lot of shots I feel he could have made, but then he also made some big shots. I can't say the same about Gabe Vincent. It sucks because I had some hope that playoff Gabe would show up. Miami Heat Gabe was going to show up because he showed flashes of it towards the end of the year. So unfortunately, I guess it was fool's gold. He just wasn't able to get into that rhythm in the playoffs, and that killed us because Minnesota had guys that would come off the bench like Naz Reid that would play good. Nikhil Alexander-Walker, he played good. Jaden McDaniels, who's a starter, but he's also, he's not a guy they go to first. He had a couple huge games for them. He was quiet tonight, but he had a couple crazy games, including a career high against the Lakers. So we had those performances. We never had one. We never had that from Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves didn't have an explosion of a game, right? We didn't have the random, 6 for 6 from three Dorian game, or the 6 for 6 from three Gabe Vincent game. We just didn't get that, and Minnesota got that. So not only was Anthony Edwards taking this crazy leap where he's just owning the Lakers in the fourth quarter, as Minnesota did for the whole series, the Lakers could not do anything in the fourth quarter. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. I mean, I know last game before this one, JJ did the first time something that was done for the first time in history, and he played the same 5 guys for the entire second half, the entire 24 minutes of that half, which has never been done before. So I understand why that fourth quarter might have been a little tiresome, right? But they still blew that game. They went into that fourth quarter with a 10-point lead. And yeah, JJ's going to take some fall for that, because he should have at least made a few substitutions in order to get LeBron, who's 40 years old, some rest, and Luka, who we'll get into his, conditioning and injuries and all these things that I think he was, nursing the entire rest of the year. Even though he could play at such an extremely high level, he still needs to get in better shape. And we'll talk about the offseason stuff. But him playing, the last 24 minutes of the game was definitely taking a wear on him. But yeah, so the thing is, in all the other games, they didn't play the full 24 second half minutes, and they still could not do anything in the fourth quarter. It was just crazy. And the craziest part is, going into this series, everyone that talked about the Timberwolves, like any beat reporters that showed up on Laker podcasts that I listened to, they would all say that they all said the same thing, that if it's a close, grinded out game, then they don't trust the Timberwolves to close, because they were the worst team in the NBA at closing games. And all of a sudden, they out-executed the Lakers in this series. I don't know. I honestly, it's going to be very annoying if Julius Randle's defense, because apparently he was playing like the best defense of his career against the Lakers, if that doesn't carry over to the next series. If Edwards, obviously, if he plays a team that actually has some more rim protection, or someone that could bother him at least a little bit more, it's going to suck if he's not looking like prime Jordan or prime Kobe anymore. It's going to suck if Jaden McDaniels doesn't have a career high against a 30-point game or a 25-point game against the next team they play, right? It's going to suck if Naz Reid just goes missing in action, if Julius Randle's not scoring the way he was against the Lakers, because there is something to be said about the motivation behind playing the Lakers. It happens in the regular season. Well, what do you think happens in the playoffs? This team was playing out of its mind. So I don't know how much of it. I mean, don't get me wrong. At the end of the day, it's still effort. It's still based in effort. It's still based in hustle. It's still the motivation's there, but the Lakers didn't show any fight back. The Lakers would get punched in the mouth every single game, and it seemed like if some of those punches were a little too hard, those hypothetical punches, the Lakers are like, you know what, you could take it, man. We don't want it as much as you. There was some moments like that. There were some moments where you're like, this team needs to respond, and it just didn't really happen. And then you pair that with the fact that Minnesota's just going crazy, and it's pretty tough, right? Now, the series is over. It is what it is. We can harp on what ifs. A lot of people that are player fans, I think player fans need to just get out of LA. Just stop, prioritizing the player over. We don't do that with the Lakers, man. Everyone's held accountable. Luka, I give him grace because of the fact that he got this trade done and he was hurt when it happened, right? Or this trade got done while he was hurt. He had that calf injury. It was his worst injury of his career. And he said it's the first time that he actually took time to let it heal, because otherwise he would just keep playing. So he gets traded. He's adapting to a new environment, adapting to a new team. I'm not saying that here's the thing. Having that lower extremity injury in his calf and not having the entire offseason to recover, he just jumps onto a new team with playoff aspirations, all the LA pressure, everyone's expecting him, all this stuff being said about his weight, all this stuff being said about him not being a championship. It's just ridiculous. I've already covered everything that needs to be said when it comes to everything that was being talked about with Luka, right? Now people are trying to be justified about the Luka slander, saying, oh, this is Nico Harrison. Hey, I even saw, usually I agree with a lot of the takes that there's a former NBA or NFL player, Emmanuel Acho. Usually when he tweets stuff out, I can agree with a lot of it. He makes good points. He was trying to explain how Luka's lack of defense in this game and, him missing that layup down the stretch in this game. He said that he said the Luka trade wasn't justified, but it was understood tonight. I just think it's unfair. If this trade was made in the offseason while Luka was healthy and he had proper time to process it, proper time, he wasn't injured, right, going into his first games as a Laker and all that, and I still think he's not 100%. I still think his conditioning wasn't able to get 100% right because he didn't have enough time to fully recover and get his conditioning right. Like I said, I'm not making excuses, but I'm giving grace because I will say this. Luka looked really bad on defense. Luka was picked on defense. Every time that Julius Randle or Anthony Edwards wanted to ISO or figure get to their spots, they called for a screen, and it was always Luka's guy so they can get the switch because that's how the Lakers play defense, right? Luka looked terrible on defense a lot. I'm not saying he was terrible, in the entirety. I mean, he made plays. He got steals. There was moments, right? But here's the thing. I have trust and faith that Luka Doncic has gathered up all these receipts that everyone said, including especially Nico Harrison and the owners of the Mavs. And I truly believe that this offseason, and honestly, who knows, maybe I'm wrong, but I have faith. And that's why I'm saying I can't guarantee it, but I have faith that Luka's going to go into the offseason. He's going to get in extremely good shape, possibly the best shape of his career, or at least close to it. I don't know, maybe, as you age, as you get the injuries that he's had, sometimes it's harder to get into that shape, right? But I truly believe that Luka's going to put his all into proving everybody wrong, especially all these people talking like the analysts, like, Charles Barkley, who's always hating on the Lakers. He's always talking crap about Luka and like all these things that people are saying. You don't think he sees it? He might not be chronically online like a lot of people are, but I don't think he's blind to it though at the same time. He at least dips his toes in the water and says, okay, let me see what's going on. Let me check the temperature of the BS that's being said about my name, right? So I truly expect, especially if LeBron stays and he doesn't retire, I think they're both going to have a hell of an offseason. I think Luka's going to put in the work because if not, then this is just unacceptable. Like, we're going to have to revamp the entire roster to cover up Luka's deficiencies. And we also have to look at the possibility that Austin Reeves and Luka may not be the best duo for the future in the backcourt unless Austin Reeves buys into a six-man Manu Ginobili type of role. We need to acquire a guard or a wing, or especially a guard, a dynamic guard that can cover up some of Luka's deficiencies. Like if we were able to keep Max Christie, that would have been one of the most perfect shooting guards to keep next to Luka, right? Because you have a guy who can cover up that on switches. He can, obviously Luka not being the best defender, which, like I said, I expect to improve because of the offseason and him being able to put in work and actually, fully recover from all these injuries. I think it would help Luka tremendously. And I think losing Max Christie, definitely, we had to do it. I don't regret anything, but I'm just saying that type of archetype to put next to Luka is definitely what the Lakers are going to be needing in the offseason. So we need that. And it just sucks that we happen to lose this series, and it happened to be a team that directly played into every weakness that the Lakers had, right? And we falsely had hope that the small ball would still work. We falsely had hope that Jackson Hayes was going to take this, leap or that he was on, and defensively he was going to be able to hold his own, and it just didn't happen, right? And it just sucks because it makes it seem justified. All the people that are saying, oh, we shouldn't have done it. We should have kept AD. I miss AD, all this stuff. And don't get me wrong. This series made it feel like, damn, if only we had an AD, down low to block some of these drives from Anthony Edwards, to not allow all these second chances. That was terrible. Tonight was terrible when it comes to the offensive boards. It was disgusting. I think they had like 9 offensive boards in the first half or something like that, maybe more. But it just sucks that this was the matchup that we drew, and it just makes everything seem like the sky is falling. Luka just wasn't as good as nah, man, save that for next year. If he has no injuries at all, obviously he hurt his back today. He has the lingering knee issue that he has. He has the lingering calf issue. Like, he has things that are there, but now he's got the offseason to recover. His run this year wasn't as deep as the finals run last year. He has more time to recover. He has more time to switch up his, his whole offseason regime, like a routine, like everything like that. I think that him being next to LeBron and seeing that and asking him, like, hey, what do I got to do? I want to take this next leap. I'm obviously not as physically gifted as you, but what can I do to maximize and prolong my career, to play close to the years you do? No one's going to touch LeBron, I don't think, in terms of, him possibly playing this crazy 23rd season. I think they said it's the first time that would ever happen, and it happens to be his number. I don't see him retiring, but we'll get into LeBron after this to see what I think he might do, or the many possibilities. Who knows what he'll do, right? I don't think retiring is what he's going to do, though. But I will get into that. But like I said, on the Luka topic, I think he's going to come back very motivated. I think he's going to get in really good shape. And next year is going to be he's going to be in MVP talks again, I feel like. And maybe that's a bold thing. Maybe he'll prove me wrong and he'll just have a shitty season. Maybe Nico was right? But I doubt it. I really doubt it. There's a reason that everyone has recency bias, and it's just one of the weirdest times to be a fan. Is like everybody's getting the fingers pointed at them, and it's almost terrible. It's almost a impossible argument to win when you try to be positive. That's the problem. So moving on to LeBron James, who he's obviously played in his 22nd season. And he always, every single year, whenever, the offseason comes, he always talks about how he's going to talk to his team, he's going to talk to his family and figure out his next move. I don't think he's passing up the chance to have that 23rd season. It's the number he's worn for most of his career. So let's just chill in the retirement talk. I don't think that's the move. But what I will say is he did make a joke in the press conference tonight. And they asked him if playing small ball for all these months in a row after the AD trade, or even with AD, because remember, AD was traded when he was hurt. So it's not like we weren't already playing small ball because AD was already hurt. So anyways, they asked him about, when he got hurt, you guys started playing small ball. Now that you got Luka, it continued. And they asked if that was kind of like their downfall, right? And LeBron, in a joking tone, right? But at the same time, like J. Cole said, all good jokes contain true shit, right? I don't think LeBron was 100% just joking, because he said, I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to say what I want or say anything what I need, because when my guy AD said it, when he said what he needed, he was gone the next week. So, and he was laughing, and people were laughing, and he was in a joking tone. But like I said, there's got to be some type of truth to that. And I don't know. Maybe because here's the thing. I think going into or coming off of the Luka trade, I feel like everything's moving fast. I don't think LeBron had time to really throw a fit. I think he was sitting there. He took a step back. He was thrown off by the fact that they did it without really consulting him. And there was actually reports. And I think even Jovan Buha, who I listened to his podcast, shout out to him, he even said no comment, because he doesn't really want to get aggregated and have people saying, oh, well, Jovan said that LeBron was mad. All he said is no comment on it, which basically he kind of insinuated that LeBron, the truth, that there was some truth to LeBron's camp being upset that the Lakers kind of just did this, and how it was going to be kind of like a reset for the franchise, and that he wasn't really the main focal point of that trade. Like, they weren't really thinking about LeBron when they made the trade for Luka. They're thinking about the Lakers, right? As a fan, I love that. But as LeBron, who's always been the center of importance for every team he's been on, he's always been consulted about every move that any team has ever made. You can see why it might rub him the wrong way. And for better or worse, I could see where it would, rub him the wrong way. But I don't see him leaving. I feel like his family is very settled into LA, but I can see where there is some trust that kind of got broken there. I could see where there's some animosity that maybe needs to be talked about in the offseason, but I just don't see him leaving. I feel like this is where he wants to retire, and unless the Lakers just straight up disrespect him when they come to the table and they talk, I don't see him leaving. But but it is LeBron James. And we've seen him push his way out of places. We've seen him go exactly where he wants to be. And if that does happen, I think the Lakers need to explore the possibilities of, you see Giannis over there, disgruntled star. I don't think we just get Giannis without giving up LeBron, right? I don't think we just get Giannis for like AR and picks. But if LeBron has a destination he wants to go to, all I'm saying, Giannis is the perfect player to put next to Luka. He's already won a championship. He knows how to get it done. And like I said, perfect complementary star to go next to Luka. So if LeBron has a preference, you talk to the Bucks, you talk to that team that LeBron wants to go to, and you try to make it happen. I think the only way to do it is a 3-team deal, because I don't think LeBron wants to be in Milwaukee. So let's say LeBron is like, send me to Golden State. Well, then you figure out what Golden State could send to Milwaukee to help your offer look stronger, and you find a way to get Giannis out of it. I think that's one of the things that I would look at, right? And this is all hypothetical. I think there's just a lot of things to think about. We'll learn more in the offseason. There's a possibility that LeBron takes a pay cut and he helps the Lakers bring in what him and Luka truly need. They get a better big man, make a trade for one, whatever he's got to do. Any type of signings they can make when it comes to more defensive-minded, guards that they could put next to Luka, you have to explore. Because of the fact that Austin Reeves had such a bad series against the Wolves, and like I said, a lot of it has to do with matchups, and I said this going into the playoffs, you can only hope to have the luck of the draw, and the Lakers, they lined themselves up to have a good luck of the draw. I think going into the series, I think we still looked at the Timberwolves and then possibly playing the Rockets or the Warriors as like, damn, we don't have to play the Clippers, we don't have to play the Nuggets, and we can still make... Anyways, all that stuff, it's all irrelevant now. But it looked like we had a good path. But at the same time, like I said, we drew one of the hardest matchups for AR to go against. And so either way, though, when the Lakers look at the numbers, when the Lakers look at, the eye test of how AR played, it is something you have to think about. I just hope they don't, rage trade Austin in a way. I think they love him. I don't think they'll do him like that or even, think about trading him for just anybody. But I just hope they give it some real thought and they don't change their stance of what they require in order to give up Austin, right? So, like I said, there's a lot of things that need to be talked about and thought about. Austin did take accountability at least, and he said, if you want to point fingers, I don't care. Point them at me because I could have been way better. And he said that he does think that he'll continue to, or he said he can guarantee he's going to work in the offseason and get better. So at least he has the right mentality. And I like to hear that. Take accountability, work hard. Even Lucas said he could play better, Even JJ, he said he can get a lot better. He ended his whole conference saying, I can get a lot better. And he was done. So there's a lot to look forward to as a Laker fan. Unfortunately, it all fell down tonight. And it's something it's a bitter taste we have to swallow. But at the same time, I just have to remind everyone that going into this playoff run, yeah, the Lakers set the expectations pretty high. There's even people that had discourse saying that maybe the Lakers peaked too soon. But at the same time, they were still going to play the Wolves. Even at the Lakers' peak, they're still playing a small ball game. It was still going to be tough, right? It was still going to be tough on Luka. On Reeves for that matchup. So we might have still had that as a negative. But either way, right? We were thinking we were playing with house money. Despite all these, expectations that got put on the team because they made us believe, we're still playing with house money, right? We still had a rookie coach. We had a trade that happened in February. The trade hasn't even been 6 months. It's been 3 months, right? It's been 3 months since Luka's been a Laker, right? So in hindsight, we did get high expectations, but we're probably just not even warranted to have those expectations. The team just happened to be playing good, right? But in reality, we had a rookie coach. We had a trade that went down in February. That's a culture-changing trade, that a whole team shifting. You got to build around it. The roster wasn't even built around Luka for an offseason. They tried to get Mark Williams. That was rescinded. There was a lot of things that this playoff rotation, they only played 13 games with this playoff rotation going into the playoffs. And you have to remember, Luka and Kyrie did not go to the finals the first year. They went the second year when they made more moves to help them. right? So it's not like, and people try to bring up the fact that, oh, this duo of Luka and LeBron only worked for a little bit. It's like, what? It's been 3 months. Like, they didn't even have an off season together. Most of the other times that LeBron has, well, every single other time that LeBron has paired up with another star, it's literally been an off season move. So they have all the off season and all the hiccups, like the Lakers going through all this, the growing pains of all the stuff, them not looking like a cohesive unit compared to the Wolves. They would have had all that in the off season or in the beginning of the season rather than in the playoffs. Okay, so I'm not making excuses, but it was JJ Redick's first playoff run. There was a lack of cohesiveness. It was hard to gel, and I'm not making excuses. Like I said, they still should have showed a lot of effort. I said that way earlier in the podcast. They should have showed way more effort, and it would have been nice to see. But at the same time, when you put it in perspective, they have a lot to think about and a lot to accomplish in the offseason. And if it makes anyone feel any better, Luka Doncic already said that it's been amazing to be a Laker. He's happy that he's here. And the only thing is, he's still got to process everything fully in the offseason. And they asked him about his contract and he's thought about that, like his extension. He said no, he hadn't really thought about it because he's just been playing. So, I think he's staying. I think with the loyalty that the Lakers have shown him in a short amount of time, just embracing him getting to know the community. He said that he was learning a lot more. He's just trying to take everything in. He's a real big community guy. He donated when the fires happened. He donated to fix this Kobe Bryant and Gigi mural. Like, he really embraces community wherever he's at. And I just think I don't think he's going anywhere. So we got our guy for the next decade. And now it's about figuring out if the last guy, and here's the thing before I go. Just want to say thank you to AD. We love him forever. He'll be a Laker legend. He won a championship, and I think his number will be retired one day, right? And first and foremost, I just had to say that because he was the one that we traded for Luka. I know I've said it before. And then LeBron James, if this is it, if this is his last year as a Laker, I don't think it's his last year playing, and I'll die on that hill. I really think he wants to get that 23rd season. It just makes too much sense. Even from a marketing standpoint, like 23 years for number 23, come on now. But if it's his last year as a Laker because something goes wrong and he decides that his future is better somewhere else, thank you to him too. I'll take the LeBron roller coaster over not having it, to be honest. I didn't even like LeBron. Like, I didn't really respect or like LeBron until he did the 3-1 comeback. I'm not going to lie. I always had a disdain for LeBron when he formed the big three, the Heatles in Miami. I was a Kobe guy, I was a Laker fan, right? Kobe was still winning championships before LeBron, went to the Heat, right? And the Lakers were still on a three-peat run they were trying to do. I think, the year that they got swept by the Dallas Mavericks and the Mavericks ended up beating the Heatles, the Lakers were still trying to win championships when LeBron formed that trio. So, how do you think I felt knowing the Mavericks beat them? And I'm like, damn, the Lakers would have beat them. You know what I mean? Even if they wouldn't have, I believed it, right? They had won 2 in a row. So I'm like, all right, give us the Heat then. And then we don't get there. And then the Dallas Mavericks end up winning it against the Heat. I'm like, man, the Lakers could have beat them then, right? But anyways, the point is, I appreciate and I respect LeBron. I actually just saw a whole edit they did of LeBron's 3-1 comeback. And I remember when it happened, I ended up calling my friend Tyler, who's like a big LeBron guy. Like, LeBron's his GOAT, right? And, I told him, I said, look, he's not the GOAT. I was like, he's not my GOAT. He never will be. But I told him I respect him after that because I just didn't before. The Miami Heat championships, I didn't respect. But that one, I respected. The bubble one, even though people discredit it all they want, how come every other team had the same exact chance that the Lakers had? So why does it have to be discredited because the Lakers won it? That's another debate. But the problem is, so you're telling me if it was that easy, how come the Celtics didn't win that year? How come the Clippers, who were, apparently supposed to win that year, how come they didn't win? How come they haven't won since, right? And people say, well, how come the Lakers haven't won since the bubble? There hasn't even been a back-to-back champion in a long time. It's very rare. We might see it with Boston this year, but who knows, right? It's very few and far between. There's been a new champion literally every single year lately. I don't even remember the last time there's been back-to-back titles, right? It probably was the Lakers. Oh, no, wait. No, it was the Warriors, right? It was the Warriors. But still, look at the team they had to have in order to do that, right? So I don't want to hear about that bubble. The point is, we appreciate AD over here. We appreciate LeBron and everything he did, because no matter what you say, no matter how many guys that still hate LeBron and still have a disdain for the circus that comes with it and all the media stuff and all the, LeBron trying to trade this and trying to trade all this stuff, le GM, like people say, he's still a fucking legend. He still put this team back on the map. He brought an identity back to this franchise. He brought relevance back to this team. We had a lot of owner fucking just chaos going on that was happening with the GM stuff. Like, it was chaos, right? And there was still a little bit of chaos when LeBron first got here. Magic ended up stepping out, and it was still a little chaotic. But for all intents and purposes, there has been a lot more stability and at least expectations every year of championship or bust, and knowing that we had the right tools, right? We can say stuff about, Rob Pelinka and his lack of roster building and all that. I get it. We should have had a big alongside AD a long time ago, before we even traded for Luka. Because think about it. If the front office did give AD a big, and let him have another big at least on the roster, when we traded AD for Luka, we would have at least had that big that was next to AD. So I get the gripes. I understand. There's a lot of things that people could say, haha, told you so. AD was right. LeBron's comments tonight. Anyways, I'm going to end up going on an entire tangent, and I'm never going to shut up. There's just so much that I had to digest out of my mind. I haven't even talked on this microphone in a while. I don't know if you guys could tell, but I'm still kind of sick, and I was sick, and my whole house was sick at one point, so it was hard to get on here. And find motivation. It's hard. Shout out to the people that do these podcasts when the Lakers lose. I think it would be easier if I did go live, because I could just kind of interact with people, but that's up to me to build that. I didn't do a good job during the playoffs to take advantage of like the hype that comes with the playoffs. But the point is, I don't even know where I was going anymore when it comes to what I was saying. The point is, we respect LeBron James around here, and I had to give him his flowers because it might be the last year that he's with the Lakers. But like I said, Lakers fans, be excited for the future. We knew that more than likely the odds weren't going to be a championship this year. It is what it is. I still think they should have made it to at least the second round. I still think that everything was paved the way for them to be in the conference finals, but it is what it is. They lost some very winnable games, and we can't do anything about it as fans. We can complain, but there's no use in playing the blame game, honestly, because everybody has a part here, right? Luka has some to blame because he couldn't play as much defense. He has, grace from me because I feel like we haven't even seen him have a full offseason with this team. We haven't even seen him play with the Lakers with the team built around him. Still could have played better defense. Still could have done this, that. He got sick in one of the games. That was terrible because I feel like the Lakers would have won that game. Man, so many things. See, now I'm going to get re-mad about everything again. Anyways, I just been yapping and yapping, but it's the last one. It's the last podcast for a while, right? As more information starts to come out, as we start learning more, if Luka re-signs in August, that's a long ways to go. We'll probably hear about LeBron stuff first. Any news that comes out that's like major or a trade or something crazy, I will be talking about it. I'll probably do like in the off-season videos when I could do those and kind of break things down or react to certain things. So I'll do my best to be a little active in the off-season. And then obviously once the regular season and everything, the preseason, all that stuff, when trades happen, when the roster looks like it, what it's going to be, I'll definitely talk about that stuff too. But I just want to say, if you've tuned into this podcast, I've been a little up and down with it. I'll disappear for a little bit and come back. And, I appreciate it because it's been fun to get back on the microphone and talk about stuff. Ever since the Luka trade happened, I just had to bring it back. Unfortunately, I didn't have my co-host Joe with me, but it's been fun to just cover the team, and I can't wait to get Joe back on here. Shout out to Joe. We got you on our minds, man, and I hope you come back safe. And everybody that listens, keep Joe in your prayers because he's in the Navy. He's out on a dangerous deployment right now. And we just pray for him. We pray for him that he gets back and then we're able to record this. Maybe I'll make off-season videos with, my boy Joe. But shout out to him. And yeah, I just want to say I appreciate anyone that's tuned in and given this podcast any type of support. So with that being said, though, if you are new here or you've been here, please leave a like on the video.
share the video with your friends, share the channel with your friends, comment, whatever, give me your thoughts. But like I said, if you are new, subscribe to the channel. But that's going to do it for the Lake Show Flow. Unfortunately, for the last time this season, but we'll see you guys next time. Thank you.